blood was it was running down all over my face. And the oddest thing about that whole night was they tried to give me a Purple Heart for that.
Well, you were injured in combat.
I know, but I couldn't take a Purple Heart for that.
You turned it
That
down?
was self-inflicted.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Retirement House Podcast.
The only podcast with over 450 years of wisdom and expertise.
And we have a very special episode for you tonight.
Because we don't have a guest this week.
Instead, we're going to be interviewing each other. So you folks get to know us a little better.
But first, I got to remind you to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's make some podcast history.
Yeah.
And I'm Monterey Morrissey, otherwise known as Larry. And when I was growing up in San Francisco at the Marine Exchange Lookout Station on the far western tip of San Francisco, I had a dream, and that was to go to sea. And I did go to sea. So that was my dream.
Wow.
But what about your dream when you were a child?
Shall we start with me?
Sure.
I was about 3 years old. I had a speech impediment. A ballet teacher convinced my dad that if I would take dancing, that it would help me learn to talk. So I was about 3, maybe 3.5, 4 years old when I hit a stage. The spotlight hit me, and the audience was out there with smiles on their faces, and I was hooked for life. That's all I ever wanted to do, just perform. How about you?
Wow, I wish I knew. The only thing I can remember dreaming about back then was getting to the end of that cotton row. And boy, when I got home, getting in the bed, that was my whole cycle of life. I didn't know anything outside of that. Really, I don't want to go back too far, but going to a school where we had no books. We had a couple of geography books, but by the time they got around to you weren't interested in reading no more. One kid got to take them one night.
Oh, my God.
Oh no, I'm not trying to make you feel sorry for him, but that's just the way it was. A little small rural city in Alabama.
I want to squeeze some words in here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, in spite of all your problems growing up and all the disadvantages that you had, you've somehow managed to achieve the art of acting, overcome alcoholism, developed a very special sense of humor, and maintained a very upbeat personality. And I'm impressed with all you've done and appreciate the opportunity of working with you. How do you explain all your success?
You know what? I chose forgiveness over anger. I turned to God. My mother turned me to God, and I chose forgiveness over anger. And once you do that, you don't harbor any resentment toward colors or ethnicities. Even though I joke about it a lot, there's nothing I'm holding in my heart against Eugene because he's white, or against Mabel because she's white, or against you.
Oh, I know you don't hold
But
anything.
I have a whole lot against Aretha because she's black.
I'm not black enough for you?
No, you know what? I want to ask you a question.
All right.
You obviously were brought up middle class or above. I was brought up below the poverty line, with nothing. I can remember when I didn't have any shoes, much less shoes to wear to school. I had none. I went barefoot.
But as of today, you are middle class. You've obtained a certain amount of fame in your acting career. You're a TikTok star. You're a TikTok star.
I want what's in her coffee.
I know. What can I tell you? And you've done quite well with your life. So, yes, I achieved certain things, but my grandfather was a doctor. My father was a dentist. My family grew up with certain advantages. So, yes, I feel like I'm entitled, but we both have the same opinion. We don't hold anything against any white people just for being white. Now, there are white people I don't like, but it has nothing to do with them being white.
Right, right. I didn't know we were going to digress into an.
You can ask whatever you
No,
like.
no one knew.
But hey, let's keep traveling down this road. Hey.
Okay, now I feel guilty being white. But
We can
my
ignore
dreams
it.
were, I'd say in 6th grade, we put on a Christmas show, and we were spelling out Christmas, and I was the A towards the end, and I had to sing, A is for angel, and that's when I realized, and I got the applause, that I wanted to be on stage.
Wow.
And I was later told that, well, no, you don't want to be because you're tone deaf. That's why that I couldn't sing, but I still wanted to be on stage, and it slowly worked to coming out here, doing stand-up, doing plays, and getting lucky enough to be on a TikTok show. Though I had never heard of TikTok at the time. But yeah, that was my dream from back in 6th grade. If that's what we were talking about, I forgot. It's been so long.
Well, yeah. Did you put a restriction? What age restriction did you put on this?
None at all.
I thought you said when I was.
Well, when you were, when
Kid,
you were young.
I was 6th grade. I was
Yeah.
young.
No. I was wondering.
Yeah, no, when
'cause
you
that
were-
kind of hamstrings you.
Yeah, when you were a kid, what
No,
are you
it
dreaming to
doesn't.
be?
Well, because when I was a little older, then I started to dream outside the cotton field. But if you're going to keep me down there, I didn't.
Well,
had no dreams.
I could word it as when you were young and had a dream, or when you had a dream of what you wanted to be. What was it?
Well, we got to go to town, they called it back then, a little city. It was a little hamlet. We got to go, and they had a Western auto store.
Okay.
And blacks were not allowed. When we went in the store, the storekeeper would go get whatever we wanted. We didn't get to go around and shop and look, right? We had to stand at the cash register. I remember seeing this black and white TV with a round screen on it, and the Cisco Kid was playing.
Hey, Pancho.
Yes. And I saw that, and I wanted to be on that screen because people were watching it.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to be watched. That was my first introduction. That took me outside of the realm of the cotton field,
Right.
to where those people were, you know.
And we brought this subject up.
Yeah, really.
I am, because when I was born, I had a funny joke about how do you know you're from Texas? And I say the opposite word is from.
Yeah.
Because when I was 2 years old and I lived in Texas, I had a nanny, and I wasn't able to tell the difference between colors of skin. For me, everybody was the same. And at night, Joe would fix dinner and serve us, and we'd be sitting in the dining room, and she'd be sitting alone in the kitchen, and I would run in. I was 2 years old. Mm-hmm. I would run in, and I would say, Joe, come and sit with us. Come and sit with us. You're part of a family. Come and sit with us. And my mother, my poor mom, she wanted to put a sock in my mouth. She just could not believe that I could not get it through my head that Joe sat in the kitchen and we sat at the dining table. And you know what? It's been that way all my life. Everyone is equal. Either they're jerks or they're really nice. Who knows? But it doesn't have anything to do with skin color.
I feel really guilty. Somebody get me on my guilt trip.
Okay, we'll go back to. We'll continue on.
I was just recognizing how successful you made your life. That's all.
That's a different take for me.
Isn't that nice?
Well, yeah, it is, but it's. I mean, all of the missteps. It's easy to judge someone by their missteps, Finding the good is harder. And
Well, obviously, you've judged yourself by the missteps, but why don't you use Bubbe's way of judging you and do it by all the great things that you've done? Life-changing question.
Well, to get to Bubbe, as we were talking about, when you were a kid, what did you dream about?
Playing the next day.
It's a simple life. That's fine.
So at one point, I wanted to be Hedy Lamarr and fling my hair back and say, "Put the blame on Maine boys." I was about 5 years old when I wanted to do that. And then I wanted to be an acrobat in the circus. And then I just wanted to have fun.
And you did, and you're still having fun, right?
I certainly am.
oh my God, I tell you.
And Aretha?
Well, I did my first play when I was 6 years old, and it was Sleeping Beauty. And I had the only lines in the play, and that was to come out cackling. So everyone else was pantomiming, the narrator was narrating, and I come out and I go, and everybody clapped. And I realized they're clapping for me. Oh my God, this is what I want to do the rest of my life.
Oh my God.
And when you talk about people saying things like, oh, you just want to be seen, I could not understand for the life of me why my family thought that was a problem. Yes, I want to be seen. And they didn't get it because they were professionals and they figured, well, you know, you got to be a lawyer or a doctor. It's like, I don't like blood. There's no way I'm going to be good at this.
I was wondering if your parents, because you had a doctor and a dentist and expected you to go on further with higher education into one of the sciences, and if they accepted your acting decision.
Not at all. And basically, I consider our family inheritance our family curse because so many people chased after the money. They chased after the property. My mother at one point said, you know what your grandmother did? She spent my inheritance on a new car. And I thought, wait, isn't that her money?
Yeah.
Doesn't she have the right? No, she should not be spending my inheritance. But most of my family took that attitude. And as it turns out, none of those that were so greedy have lived to see any of that money. So although there's privilege, there's also some craziness that happens when your family has privilege. And all of those shows where, you know, they're waiting to kill off Aunt Susie or, you know, oh, we didn't know that George drank that poison. Oh, we put it in there? Oh.
Oops.
So there's some good for either way you grow up, but it depends on what you make of it. And Jerry has made a fine life for himself. And I've made a crazy life of myself.
But a fine one.
But when people ask me, well, what would you change? I wouldn't change anything because I'm happy with how my life has turned out. I'm on TikTok.
I'm big time on TikTok.
I'm a TikTok star.
Big time.
But now you also mentioned that you liked people looking at you.
Oh, yes.
But wasn't it also, at least on my part, you love the attention?
I love the attention.
Oh, that's the only way I could only get attention. So
I love the attention.
700 million views when last we counted. That's a lot of people looking at you, honey.
It's a lot of people. And it's unfortunate because none of those people got to see me achieve anything. They all passed away, literally, within a year of when I did my first weekly TV show.
Oh, my goodness.
But I can't resent anything. I'm glad I'm not a doctor or a dentist.
Well, tell me something. How do you guys? You just said 700 million views, right?
Right.
How do you feel that?
Oh, I read the comments.
You read the comments.
I have no problems reading the comments. I'll answer the comments. I may regret saying that, but the truth is I love answering the comments. That's one of the things about being on TikTok, that you get to talk to your audience.
You get that? Okay, so that's the way you feel it. Okay.
And I got a comment the other day of, how do you get your hair to be a ponytail and a bang at the same time?
Yep.
And I explained it to them. This is the way that you do it. People see me on TV shows where literally I have one line and I go like this and say, are they gone? And people say, I saw Rose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, I do other TV stuff, but I'm very happy with my life.
I don't want to change the subject, but I am
Please.
changing the subject.
Please.
You are wearing some pretty funny clothes, and I would like to ask you what you're doing in those bright hose and leotards.
Well, before we do the podcast, we do a TikTok or 2 TikToks or 3 TikToks. And this is from a TikTok that we shot earlier. And Curtis and I were both just too lazy to change clothes.
I don't know about you guys, but it was a funny moment to me when I first got recognized from retirement house.
I know.
I just bought some pizza, and I'm sitting in my car, and it slid off the bread right onto my shirt. And this lady goes, "You're from retirement house, aren't you?"
How can you tell?
Where did she come from? Where did she come from? I don't know where she came from, but she was right there.
Well, and I just recently moved into an apartment for seniors. And they have a gorgeous dining room there, and it's staffed by all young people in their 20s. And someone recognized me, and this word spread around. And I cannot tell you, I have people, young people coming up to me all day long and hugging me and telling me how much they loved me, and which is different than it was before, because before no one recognized me. And as I said, I'm having a lot of fun.
Yes, it is a lot of fun.
I was surprised. My first time recognized was my grandnephew, but he was watching Granny Dronian, Grandma Dronian, who
Joniak.
Eugene Joniak. I'm sorry, Eugene was having an affair with across the TikTok, and he's this big football player. So I don't picture him, but he's on TikTok, and so he's on TikTok and he's watching Grandma Droniak, and I came on. He goes, "That's Uncle Chuck." So I just told him, I said, "You should be watching us." So he's watching it, the same thing, talking to my niece and her daughter, my grandniece. He said, "What? Aren't you on that?" And then she, right there on the phone, "Wait a minute." She became a follower. So it's amazing and it's great. And I love the comments, especially ones we get where it's, "Oh, I was having a bad day, but you made me laugh."
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. Or is with Eugene, is that just a young guy in an old man's makeup? And I think it's a compliment, but then it's like, I don't have any makeup.
So, Larry,
Yo.
talk to us a little bit about the wine country. I mean, you know.
The wine country?
Yeah, where you come from before you...
I've been retired many times. And one of my retirement jobs, I did used to have a real day job where, you know, other than the restaurants and bars and whatnot that I've worked in, I also was in harbor operations and ran a marina for several years until the Giants moved in, and that was too much for me. But what was your question?
Was I finished?
Oh, the wine country.
Wine country.
I just thought about retiring again. But
That comment is typical of all of us.
All of us,
What
yes.
was your question?
but the wine business, which was one of my retirement jobs, was I started out as what's called a sugar sampler. And everybody loves the title of that. Everybody wants to be a sugar sampler. What that is you're testing the berries and following their sweetness towards when they're ripe enough to pick. And that's what that's all about. And so I started doing that, did that for about, 7, 8 years before the Sonoma fires came and kind of burnt me out of the county. But I worked in about 250 different wine blocks or grape blocks every year and followed the farming all the way through from bud burst to the pick. And as soon as they crushed them, I was out of work again for another 6 months. That was a great job because then I would go traveling or finally get an acting gig or whatever I could get. But yeah, that was a wonderful job in a place that generally nobody gets to go on there because they're all closed vineyards. But it's some of the most beautiful landscape you've ever seen. And when I go to work, I go with the sun up. And to see the sun up in the Napa or Sonoma or Mendocino valleys is just breathtaking. And that was just a wonderful part of my life. And made a lot of great friends. Farm people with their hands in the dirt all the time. They're a different breed of people, and they're a wonderful breed of people. And I'm really happy to have included them in my life. It was a gift. But speaking of gifts and being recognized, I understand you got a Humanitarian Award. Is that correct?
Oh, I did, yes.
Tell us about that.
I was hired because I had made 2 documentary films, and both of them had won lovely awards. One won the New York International Independent Film and Video Festival, and one won in New Mexico, and I won Best Woman Director. And so a guy called me and said, would you please tell me how to make an award-winning documentary? And I said, yes, I will. Quickly, go get the money and hire me. And he did.
All right.
He did. And then I had the great joy of making We Know Not What We Do. And it's a love letter to human beings saying, please let us make a moral and spiritual shift in the way we live on this planet if we do not choose to be extinct. So if you go to weknownotwhatwedo.org, you will be able to see the 55-minute film, We Know Not What We Do, that won me a Humanitarian Award. It was from Accolade. They're a very honorable company and have recognized some marvelous directors that I'm very proud to be in the same group with. How they found my film, I have no idea, but I have a beautiful gold statue that names the film, names the year, names me as the director.
Wow.
And
That's a big deal.
I keep it in a pretty prominent place so that I can't ever forget how marvelous it was to make that film.
And it's a very, very good film because you told me about it when we first started the show, and it's an excellent film, and it's okay, you can pay me later.
How much?
It was very well done. It was really
Thank
quite
you.
interesting.
Thanks.
The first time I was recognized for being on TikTok, I was coming out of Target, and I had all these packages, and I was struggling with them. And then I hear out of nowhere, "Are you on Retirement House?" And I thought, yes. "Don't move. I'll be right there." She pulled over. She came. We talked. She told me how much she enjoyed Retirement House. And I was so impressed because it was like, okay, normal people watch TikTok and they operate on social media because she seemed normal. So that was quite a thrill for me.
It is a thrill. Yeah, it is a thrill. And being on this program, being in this show is a thrill. And the very idea that we can bring joy and laughter to people these days. And how much fun is it to work together and laugh almost all the time?
All the time.
Yeah, all day long. It's a wonderful thrill. Thank you,
Mostly
each and every one of you, for being such marvelous people.
Oh, we'll pay you later.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You know, you guys were award-winning people. Chuck, you served in the military. What's your greatest achievement, award, or whatever?
Well, it wasn't in the military. I won a special guest star we had at Cal State University, Los Angeles. They had a program, the 7-11, I believe it was called, and it was supposed to be student-directed, student-produced, student-written episodes. And even though I was only in my late 20s, I played a 50-year-old grandpa, a Jewish grandpa. And I would fake them out every night. I'd say, "Oh, give me some Manischewitz. Give me some of this. Give me some of that." and they'd say, "What are you going to say next?" "I don't know." Wait till I get there." And they'd...
That's funny.
And then they had an award ceremony, and I was nominated, but I didn't think I'd win, so I just stayed home. And my neighbor who went, she goes, "Oh, by the way, you won." And I got a little statue for Best Supporting Actor as a grandpa.
Oh, God.
That was my only award. In the service, I did... I was only a Vietnam era veteran, as you had gone to Nam.
Yeah.
We went to as far as Hawaii, but we put on shows for the...
Okay.
And we went to Atoll Island, and we put on a show for them there, and I was Sergeant Santa Claus.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, for Christmas, and we had singers and dancers, and it was a lot of fun. I wanted to be in special services.
Yeah.
People misunderstood that as, "Oh, you'd never be in the Green Berets."
Yeah,
Of course,
yeah,
you know,
yeah, no.
special services. No,
Yeah. It's a whole different ball
With the
game.
Chorus
Wait,
girls, yes.
and just work as an inspector general, and I was blessed that I didn't go there. I got home in time.
Yes, yes.
But you were there.
Yes, I was. But Aretha was also there during the time that I was. Talk about that.
Yeah.
I went on a USO tour, and USO tours entertained the troops. This was as the Vietnamese War was ending. We went to the Philippines, we went to the Far East, and most of the trip was wide open. We'd go, we were free to move about. We needed an escort, but it was no big deal. One morning we got up, we got ready to go. We got a caged bus that was basically armored. We had 2 or 3 extra guards, and they wouldn't tell us why.
Where were you?
We were on Guam.
Wow.
Oh, that was the next stop. Okay.
That was the next stop. And now we weren't ever going to Vietnam. It was a college tour. So they didn't let the college tours go into actual war zones. But we were the last group of people to go on a USO tour going after Bob Hope.
Ah.
So if we had been allowed to go, which we weren't, we could have gone and entertained the troops there. But it was very exciting. The guys in the services were so happy to see us. I couldn't sing, and
You just went around looking.
You didn't need to.
You just looked beautiful to them.
You were
Well, that's
female.
just-
That's all they
that's
needed.
just, I figured that out real quick. You're not listening to me sing.
Yeah.
Like Morgan Freeman and the girl that does her hair in Shawshank. That's the way Aretha was. Well, Vietnam for me was right out of high school to Vietnam. And I didn't even know, don't even mention war. I didn't even know about Vietnam. We only had Alabama history. We had no world history.
Yeah.
No, in our high school. I
Yeah.
didn't know anything about the world. And before I knew about Vietnam, I'm in it. And the plane we flew over there in, it flew less than 200 miles an hour. So I believe with the down for gas, when you subtract the down for fuel time, it took us like 59 hours
Oh my.
Oh,
to get there. No. And we're sitting facing this way across the plane, right? And we get there, and we all get off the plane, And I get off the plane and I'm stretching and yawning and I hear this tat, 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 tat. And well, there was no blacks. I hate to go to this ethnic.
Oh, no, it was
but there was no
segregated.
blacks in the Navy at that time when I was, they were far and few in between. And so I'm yawning and stretching. All of a sudden, this white guy dived on me. He said, "You better get down." They're shooting at us. They were shooting at the plane, and I'm yawning. It's the dumbest thing I've ever done. And all of a sudden, I became acclimated to where I was. Every other night, sometimes we'd be going to the foxhole. Man, I remember this one night, I'm running, going to the foxhole. I should have known it was there because I was in A company with the bulldozers. I operated bulldozers. And so when they come out of the mechanic shop, you push this sand away, right? And it had created this ravine that was about 10 feet deep.
Yeah.
And so I'm running, and all of a sudden my feet weren't hitting the ground. And I got my rifle got my skivvies on, no clothes, just my rifle on my back. And the sight of the rifle hit me in the back of the head. Oh. And I was almost gone, but I could hear him yelling, "Jerry! Jerry!" And I just couldn't get up. Blood was it was running down all over my face. And the oddest thing about that whole night was they tried to give me a Purple Heart for that.
No.
Well, you were injured in combat.
I know, but I couldn't take a Purple Heart for that.
You turned it
That
down.
was self-inflicted.
I shot myself in the head, but it's okay.
I understand there were several people like that. though.
Yeah,
Yes,
it was.
yeah, there was.
You know what? Had I been planning to retire, I probably would have taken that Purple Heart because it'll help you move up in the ranks.
Right.
I didn't know you could refuse it.
Oh yeah, you have to put
Sign
a
it.
request in for it.
Yeah.
And if you don't, it's not like I refused it. I never requested it.
Because they don't know what you're doing out there in the field. Yeah. You have to tell them.
Yeah. So anyway, Vietnam was interesting for me.
How long were you over there?
My first year was 1964. My last year was 69 and 70.
Wow, you were there a long time.
Well, I spent 2 years there, and in between, I worked out of the Philippines for 4 years, loading ships with armaments to go to Vietnam. So it was just like what I was doing when I was over there, almost, But then when I got out of the military, guess what I did?
You did
I
that.
started driving a limo, and they put me on the heart and lungs team.
On the what?
The heart and lung team. Where you take a heart from somebody. Yeah.
Oh, you mean a transplant?
From somebody that's dying, and then you take it to somebody else.
But speaking of that, that's a wonderful thing that you do for somebody else. And Monterey,
Yo.
you have a history of doing a wonderful thing where you donated a part of your body.
Yes, I did in 2012.
It's a generosity that you can't find everywhere in the world. And tell us about it.
Talking about finding, make sure everybody that's got a California driver's license and probably in other states, there's a pink dot on there that you can poke out. And that signifies that you can be an organ donor in case you're in an accident.
But do they want us at this age?
Yes.
Yes.
They
Yes.
do?
Yes. If it's
Besides
healthy.
that, you're a donor. There's so many other things you can donate. You can donate your skin. You can donate corneas. You can donate your hair. There's so much of yourself that can be used to save or enhance other people's lives. But actually, it started in 2010. My wife needed a kidney due to PKD, it's called, and it's a kidney disease. And I said, sure, of course, let's get tested. And so I went through all the testing and whatnot, and also sent out a letter because it takes a while to get people to, in case I wasn't the right match for it, would take quite a while. And we were living in Bend, Oregon at the time of this. And I was in a theater company up there, and an improv company, and a radio theater production there. And everybody in the community drew together, and we put on a show at the Tower Theater in downtown Bend. And out of that and a letter that I put out, we got quite a few people to also test and get in line to be a living donor for my wife. It turned out and ended up being me. And so 2 years later, we were in San Francisco, and it was probably just a couple of weeks before the donation was supposed to occur. And the head of the department came to me and he said, look, we've got 3 other couples that don't have a match, but you're of the blood type, you're a universal donor, and your wife has a great possibility of also accepting other kidneys. So would you go into this group? You could be the bridge donor. So instead of I was saving one person, my wife, I was saving 4. So I said, absolutely, why not? Let's go for it. So we had an 8-way kidney exchange, all at the same hospital on the same floor at the same time in San Francisco. We were all color-coded. And we didn't get to see each other because it's all anonymous from each other. So, I was the red kidney, my kidney, which was the left one. And it took about 6 months worth of testing before you actually go into it, because I got to know which kidney to take and everything that you're healthy enough to do this. And anyway, so yeah, the red kidney go in the red freezer, and that went over there to that operating room. And they put it in that person, and the blue one went over there, and whatever. And it was a wonderful experience. And we finally did agree 100% to meet each other. So 2 weeks later, we walked into a room at San Francisco Hospital, and it was filled with cameras internationally. And it was a big story. An 8-way kidney exchange was a big story at that time. And we finally got to meet each other. And we now, up until COVID, we had gotten together every year on the date, May 18th, of the exchange, and had lunch and connected with each other. Everybody's still doing well. And, so it was a great experience, and I'd do it again if I could.
And I understand you just recently decorated a float
That's right.
at the Rose Bowl.
In Pasadena at the Rose Bowl Parade. That was the Donate Life float, and it was all done by families of people who had passed away and donated their organs to other people. So they did it in their honor. And that was a very moving experience.
Wow, I'll bet.
Yeah, it was not a dry eye in the house most of the day. And very fortunate, very fortunate. So punch that little pink dot out on your driver's license and donate life.
We're lucky to have people like you in this world.
Yeah, thank you.
Every single one of you has something wonderful that you've done, something good that you've supported somebody, and it's just an extraordinary group of 6 people, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. It is an extraordinary group.
Well, there's a person here that I know little or nothing about, and I would like to know, what did you do before TikTok? Did you ever have a real job? Did you ever work? Were you just a humanitarian?
Once a Bubbe, always a Bubbe.
She was out on Hollywood Boulevard, just walking the streets. That's easy for you to say.
It from me.
I was first, directly before I started at TikTok, I was a grandmother. And I did things before that too. I was an interior designer. I was a professional member of ASID. And prior to that, I was the most wonderful wife and mother you could find. And I spent a lot of time with my family and donating time in different charities in the community, and when my kids went through school, participating in different things like that. That's how I got into TikTok too. My grandson overheard Brandon, our director, our young, handsome director, talking about this new thing he was going to put together, or he had just put together, and he was having an audition for new people. And my grandson listened to him, and he said, "Boy, my Bubbe would love doing things like that. She's sort of on stage 24/7 anyway." And I don't think Brandon was too happy about me auditioning, his friend's grandmother. But my grandson walked into my house, said, "I'm going to video you and read this script and make up a little story that's 2 minutes long. And I'm going to come back and video you tomorrow." And he did, and he submitted the video. I had no idea what he was doing and what it was about. And then he calls and he said, "Okay, Bubbe, you made it. Out of 100 people, you came in third. And you have to go to a live audition, but I'm going to take you because it's not in a good neighborhood." And he took me to this audition, and then he called me the next day. He said, "Okay, here's an address in Hollywood. You're on your own." So, and just a couple of weeks ago, there was a big article in the New York Times about 2 grandsons that got their grandmothers into TikTok and were doing all these commercials and making all this money. It wasn't my grandson and it wasn't me, but when I think of what a wonderful grandkid I had that would be so considerate as to think, oh, she would love that. So I have had a very blessed life.
That's
And
the way
I'm
because you
lucky.
raised him well.
No, I'm talking about prior to that, too.
Prior to him being here. Huh?
Right. So, and what more than that, I can't give you.
Okay.
How was your audition?
I know a casting director, and she sends me on stuff periodically, not often, but the things she sent me on have been nice. So I get this email to go to this place, and they're going to do live auditions. I wasn't in the first process or the second process. And I go to this place, it's 4 stories high.
Yeah.
And I thought, surely
least.
they want to eliminate
that
us.
when you
They
go
want to
sideways.
eliminate us.
You can make it. You can make it to the top.
If you can survive this, you can be on the show. And we did dances. We did all kinds of stuff for the audition. I walked out of there saying, I have no idea what they wanted. I don't know. And I think it was the next day or two, and I get the call, "You're going to be on TikTok." And it was like, okay. And it's been a joyride ever since. We've got great people that we work with,
And we still don't know what we're doing.
and we still don't know what we're doing.
And I'm so fortunate to have made wonderful new friends here.
Well,
Oh, thank you, Bubbe.
but-
Oh, I'm sorry.
You too.
Okay.
Oh, you too.
Okay.
An afterthought.
Yeah. Now,
But-
what about your audition? Oh,
But that's just it. We have met wonderful friends. Some get on your nerves a little bit more than others.
I'm sorry. I just.
No, it's not you.
I know.
It could be someone to your right, but I'm not. I'm not saying anything.
We all knew.
I wonder who that could be.
And your auditions?
Well, by the way, that was 1 year and 10 days ago that audition occurred. Or chem test, as they
For
called
most
it.
of you.
For most of us. Of course, the 2 old timers, they went
could
through
that
their
be?
cast members
How
pretty
can you
quick.
remember that so precisely?
Because he has
because I
an
just
electric
arrived in
mind.
L.A.
Oh, you're going. Yeah, you
Yeah,
just arrived.
so for me to arrive from San Francisco and Los Angeles on January 1st and get a call or get an audition online the next day on January 2, and then get called to the chem test 2 weeks after that was pretty outrageous. I mean, when you think of people come across country from all over the world to come to Hollywood and to get the chance to get just one audition and maybe 100 more auditions, and they finally get something, where I just,
Or they don't.
or they don't,
And they
then
go home.
they
Or
drag
they
their
don't.
tail
And they
home.
get married.
I don't know if this helped or not.
What's that?
You kind of resemble Lord Bridges.
Lord, yes.
And you have these brows.
We come from the same area of Norway. We really do, yes.
Yeah, and these brows. How do you
Friedrichsburg, yes.
how do you care for these brows?
Well, John here, he's a little difficult in the morning.
John, you got him
he
named?
names them. Yes.
While Bob is kind of flighty, and just goes anywhere.
You should take your hat off. I mean, I don't know for people who haven't seen those. Oh God,
But
man.
see, this is Bob, kind of flighty. He's a little of the French side. I'm Irish, Norwegian, and French. So I think this is a little French strain over here. But this is definitely the Norwegian side because it's very stubborn. And anybody, especially those who are married, if they have a Norwegian mate, they know exactly what that means.
Now, I heard you say one time that you put something on your fingers to get them to stay where you want them.
Well, yes, if I need them to stay where I want them to
Called
be.
glue.
And
One would think, but
no, I use chapstick. Actually, it's the handiest. It's
I
just
see.
around, But yeah, they come in handy, and that's part of your persona when you're an actor. It's like. Bogart, he had that thing where he used to, go like that a lot and whatnot. And that was all about the fact that he had really bad dentures. And so he developed that kind of unconsciously, but it became part of his character.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Stewart had a terrible stutter, and he also forgot the lines all the time. He had a really poor memory, and we should all know about that.
Yeah.
And so
You're getting controversial. Watch out.
and that's where his type of talk came from, how he addressed. And so it's known in the acting teaching world. They say, if you've got a disability of some kind or a quirk, use it. Don't fight it. Don't try and cover it up, because that's always going to distract you and take you out of the moment. Take that little quirk and use it. Put it into the character you got. It works. It works for me. And,
How about your audition, Mabel?
Oh, I loved it. I saw it. I have an agent, but I saw a request for a self-tape for a role called Peaches, and I sent it. I did something, and I sent it in, and within 2 hours, I got an email. Yeah, right away. I got an email that said, "Oh, we don't want you for that role, but we have another role in mind. Do this audition." And let me tell you, that was the funniest audition. I had more fun doing that audition. I was supposed to be a woman who was not a podcast announcer, but a radio announcer, who forgot that she was on the radio, and she starts showing some pretty interesting quirks. And then all of a sudden she remembers again and takes back that phony persona. I thought it was the funniest thing. I had more fun shooting that self-tape than I've ever had submitting a self-tape. Then I heard almost right away, we're interested, we'll let you know. Then I waited 3 long weeks. And then I got another one saying, we want you to come, we want to see you in person. And then I got there, and there was a whole room full of people. And it was scary because I really wanted the job. I wanted this job by that time. And but the wonderful thing is, what shoot are we on now? Something like our 100th or 55th or something. And at the time, they were hiring us for 2 shoots.
yes.
Because they didn't know if anyone would like this show. I'm telling you, getting hired for this show is one of the luckiest. I've had a wonderful, interesting life, but getting hired for this show has been one of the most interesting things I've ever done. I love coming here and being part of Retirement House. I love these guys that are sitting out here who are behind the cameras.
Wake up, guys. Wake up, guys.
Yeah,
Okay.
I love the people who created the character. I love the character.
Yes.
Mabel.
Yes, Mabel on the table.
Mabel on the table. I love the character. I'm really, really delighted about it. And I was one of the first people, one of 4 first people, and you were the second one, buddy. And you started at the same time I did.
Yeah, well, I had to send money through PayPal to get the audition. I had to send them some money so they'd see me.
They told me they wouldn't take
I
PayPal.
was up for,
oh, shucks.
Oh, geez.
I was up for the former porn star, so I knew it was a comedy. And they wanted him topless with an apron and carrying a tray of cookies. So I went into my boss's office. He wasn't in. And a friend of mine filmed me in there, topless with an apron, with a tray. And then I got, call back to give me some lines, like you say. And then went in and read with all those people there. I did a improvisation with Georgina, the producer, playing a former porn star and trying to pick her up. And that was a lot of fun. And then as soon as I got the part, well, no, we want you for this other part. They changed the names to Eugene. I said, it sounds like Woody Allen. Woody Allen is a step even more higher than that. I said, you want me then? So, really nerdy. As a matter of fact, these jeans were given to me by them so that they could do the sick joke. When Peaches would say to me, those are sick. No, I feel okay. Because we didn't know the lingo. But yeah, these and many gifts we've had from them. But the best gift is the cast we have and getting to do what I love to do.
Don't,
Crack up my my castmates here. And
don't believe it.
See, he keeps us laughing.
There were 4 of us the first season.
yes, went down to 3 after a week.
And then there was 3, and then there was 2, and then we got lucky enough to get invited to seeing you all
Yes.
in the squirmy seat of Will They
up
Love
on the
Us,
roof.
Will They
Up
Not?
on the roof.
On the roof, yes.
Up on the roof.
Talking about up on the roof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I got the call, I had no idea what I was going to. I'd been on a lot of weird calls, but so I said, hey, you know what? This can't be any weirder. So I got
Especially that part of downtown.
Yeah,
LA.
And it was weirder.
I got down there, and then I found this parking spot, and then I go in this building, and Jesus, you had to go up and then over and then up some stairs and then over
Into
again.
the next building over.
Yeah.
It was like, we were playing spy versus spy. We didn't want somebody to know where we were going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but it was a beautiful view once you got up there.
Yeah, it was.
And then I met this lady, and I think she was more interested in me than she was the audition. We kind of hung out together. And then when they got to the real audition, it was to do a dance.
TikTok dance. Yeah.
And so I thought to myself, well, I can go home. Because I don't have any rhythm. I'm the only black man I know that ain't got no rhythm.
Yeah,
So that's what I thought to myself.
Here's a whole bunch of senior citizens on a rooftop in LA dancing with no railing.
And no music.
Yes, with no music.
Oh, yes. That was
Did
another.
you notice during the entire audition up there was this security guard over in the corner, like watching us, and he kept kind of looking around, like who's in charge here and whatnot. And he finally, when we finally left, he goes, you need permission to be up here. Now you tell me.
Yeah, you sure did. He was so concerned about us, I guess. I
Yes,
don't know.
So we started out that way.
Yeah, that gives you an
on
idea of
the
what you were
edge,
in for. We
on
kind
the
of
fly.
knew what you were going to be in
Yes.
for. You
We
guys
knew there was,
what was going to be doing.
Yeah.
And then every once in a while we'll hear this is going to be some stupid stuff. What's new? It's every week.
Yeah.
But I think it's time to wrap it up. I'm being told by my boss to shut up.
Can I
and to
ask
get
just
things-
one quick question?
Okay, one
all
quick
the way
one.
around in one
Okay.
sentence.
Okay.
What advice would you give a young actor starting off? One
Are
sentence.
you looking at me?
Yeah, starting with Monterey. One sentence.
Well, if they have a lot of money, they can take acting classes. But other than that, there's plenty of stuff in the community they can get started with and start working their instrument and find out if this is really the way they want to go. Maybe chat online with some people that are in the trenches working.
That's more than one sentence, Mom.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Got it.
Time's up.
Kaylin.
Please don't do drugs. please don't get, started on the wrong path in Los Angeles. My family has just lost, it's not someone that I even knew, but a young man in his 20s because of opioids. Am I saying it right? How do you say it?
Opioids.
Yeah, don't do it, guys. Have fun. Stay alive. Life is glorious. And don't let anyone trick you into getting old.
Be passionate about your craft and work at it.
The best advice I got was be yourself and believe that that's enough.
And I think that you ought to take a good look at yourself and realize if you have enough talent to make it in the acting business, because otherwise there's writing, there's producing, there's directing. There are all kinds of things that can give you just as much satisfaction. And that field is too competitive when you don't have the amount of talent you might need.
And I just say, study, pay attention to what's going on, live a clean, wholesome life. Like it's been said, stay away from drugs. The opioid pandemic is just a nightmare right now. And believe me, it does not enhance your career. But that's a story for another day.
Well, we're going to go out and smoke a couple of joints and then have a...
Yeah, I got a little glue. You got a brown paper bag? Let's go, yeah.
Thank you all. Thank you all. Hope to see you on our next
Bye-bye,
podcast.
y'all.
Love you. Love you so much. Thank
Subscribe.
you.
And subscribe.